Welcome to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn and Elizabeth. These light warriors, both native New Yorkers, walk their walk, talk their talk, and keep the real in the deal. This dynamic duo joined forces to assist you through your transformational journey one step at a time, empowering you with spiritual tools you can use in your daily life. Each show begins as a conversation creating an opening for spiritual connection. There are never any scripts, and Spirit is always illuminating the way. And that's when the shift hits the fan. The magical messages of the ancestors, spirit guides, and Gaia are respected, honored, and always given sacred space to communicate. Join Marilyn and Elizabeth as they shake shift up and do what they do best, speak from their hearts.
Shake and shake
morning.
up on the new moon in Pisces. Marilyn,
there you go.
Welcome. Listen, I don't know how we planned it, but it's really magical and mystical because today is literally in 30 minutes from this very moment, the new moon in Pisces. And we seem to have this cycle going on with our show time, which was pretty much kind of picked for us, where we're always like right around the new moon or the full moon, which I love that.
I love it.
So, all right, we are taking calls today, people. 202-570-7057. And we're kind of excited because we just found out that iHeart.com has picked up our podcast, which is really quite an honor. And that means a lot of more people are listening to us. And wow, it's been 5 months since we started our radio show, Marilyn. And I don't know what you got going on there, but you got little angels making sound effects.
Yes, it's like Facebook is going a little cray-cray today. Yeah, I think that's what that is.
Like every other day. So what do we do on the new moon? Of course, it's a new moon, and it is a new month. And we're going to march forward in the month of March because all the planets are direct now. And this new moon in Pisces is really about, anytime there's a new moon, it's like, when you think about a little seed and you plant a seed, that seed contains everything it needs inside itself to become what it becomes, if it has the love and the nourishment and the right atmosphere. And so today, especially today in the next 24 hours, it's a really good time to sit down and journal about what you want marching forward. How do you want to feel? What are some of the things you want to bring in? So I just want to get that out there. And we are celebrating because it's been 5 months and we've been picked up by iHeart, and OMTimes has been very good to us, and we're building a platform here. And so I think today, Marilyn, we were talking about, we struggle with our monthly topics because our weekly topics, because we try and plan them in advance, and we're so on the fly. So today we're facing our fears and acknowledging our fears. And I think, there's a lot of undercurrents of fear right now in the world. And, we're not going to get into politics, but there's a whole big thing going on in Ukraine right now. And there's a lot of people that are having to leave their country and fight for their rights. And that's kicking up fear for everybody around the whole world, Imagine, all of a sudden there's troops down your street coming down, It's a frightening time. And we don't want to focus on the fear, but we want to address the things that are truly happening and where our fears come from, right?
Yes.
Because I always say, start where you are. We got to start where we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely, we do have to start where we are. We're going to feel the collective, right? We're going to feel it. The more sensitive we are, the more we're going to feel the collective. And my journey has taught me for myself. Everybody has, a different journey and a different way of doing things. But for me, it's prayer, right? I light my candles. I say a prayer every single day. I do this. I say a prayer for the world. I say a prayer for everyone, right? And I also name people, and because my thought is that the more love and prayers that we put out, right, the more light there is in the world. right?
Yeah.
And then I work on myself as well, because I believe that working on your inner self helps you and leads you towards peace. And how can we have peace in the world? Is by having each one of us having inner peace. If each one of us had inner peace, right, then the world would be magnificent, right? Because the rhythm of the universe would be so different, right? And so that's my, my prayer, right, is for inner peace for all mankind, all womankind, everybody on the planet Earth, in the whole entire universe, right? To be able to have inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that stems from everything. We have grown up in a society, in a world. I mean, I'm going to say a world that has made us look at everything outside of ourselves, because they want to distract us from our own inner power and our own inner knowing and our own inner wisdom and our own inner peace. There is a very big reason that there is a lot of discord and fear being bombarded out there. Boom, 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 because it keeps us disempowered. So we have a wonderful caller, Marilyn, and those of you that listen to OMTimes may know who this person is, because she's got a really big following on OMTimes, Postcards to the Universe, and this is Miss Melissa Caprio, who's a good friend of mine. So, Melissa, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
welcome.
great.
Hi.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Well, first I want to say congrats on the iHeartRadio. That's pretty huge, because they have a really large subscribership or listenership. So congrats on that. That's exciting.
Great. Thank you. We're excited. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
You know about podcasts, and I followed you here to OMTimes, and this is why Marilyn and I chose this format. So we really appreciate you showing up and, paving the way for us.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, you guys, it's so important what you guys are talking about and the good energy that you're putting out there. Because, I was listening to you before I came on, and there's so much fear in the world, and there's so much, trauma that people have been experiencing in the past, especially the past few years. It's like we need shows, that talk about the light, about how helping us heal, about helping us rise our vibration, because it's a scary time, and we don't want to focus on that.
Yeah, and the focus can't be on that, because if we focus on that, then we bring more to it, because we feed it and then it grows, right? So it's not looking at it; it's looking at it and praying peace and love, right? And, the willingness and the openness for everyone that's involved to be able to come together, to unite, to have a united front. So when we look at it, and, that's how I look at it. I mean, I feel that when I'm looking at this and I'm listening to these, to the stories and all the things that are happening in the world, and the greatest fear that's going on, because it is a collective fear as well. And so what happens is that if I can put that love out there, that understanding that we will come together and there will be unity, and that we will have a clearer understanding, of what is happening, and, and that things will change for the better. And then if we can all vibrate in that energy, and we can create that frequency, and we can feed that frequency, that's the frequency that's going to then lift and make the changes, right? Because throughout my life, I've noticed that if I focus on something that is negative and I feel bad about it, or I say, oh my goodness, this is da-da-da-da-da, and then I run it and I feed it and I feed it and I feed it, it grows. And the more that I say, no, I don't want to see it that way. I envision it a different way. And then I feed that. I feed that. What I am projecting out there, I feed that, because I don't want to grow that other thing. I want to feed this beautiful thing that I'm co-creating into the universe, and then asking that the frequencies, move into all the love that exists in the planet Earth, right? Because there is so much more love than hatred and fear, right? There is so much more love. It's just that we have to be tuned into that, right?
Absolutely. No, I agree. I want to ask both of you a question.
Yes.
Do you think that because of everything that's been going on and the pressures and the fears and the traumas, that we can manifest dis-ease or ill at ease in our own bodies? Because I think that's what's been happening to me.
Oh, yes, for sure, right? Because when there's a dis-ease in our body, right, then we begin to create over time, if we don't focus and pay attention to what the body's trying to tell us, that's how we then get to the place of disease in the body, right? Because we have to focus on the body is trying to tell us something. What is that? Okay, well, maybe I'm focusing on something. But you know what the other thing is? I'm going to go because I'm feeling this already. Okay, so what happens is that when we are, thinking about what's going on in our external world, and we are feeling it in a certain energy, because we're feeling it in our body a certain way, right? That frequency is tapping into an old energetic frequency that has been now reactivated, right? And it's being fed, and it's being fed, and it's being fed. And so what we have to do is we have to acknowledge that there is a frequency there that doesn't feel good. There is that frequency that it has been activated, and it's an old story, and it's still running amok, and it's still creating and wreaking havoc in us. And what happens is that the body is saying, the body's saying, listen, because something's happening here. Look, listen, it's happening in this area. Can you feel it? And then and sometimes what happens is like, the body can also compensate, right? Like if, let's say my leg is hurting me, and then all of a sudden I'm like, maybe it's my right leg, and all of a sudden I'm just moving, but I realize that, man, my left leg is really hurting me now more, right? Because why? Because I'm compensating. It's not because the pain is still not in my right leg. It's still there. It's just transferred over because I'm using the other side, right? The other leg. So what I'm trying to say here is that when we have to really be very mindful of what it is that we're choosing to feed ourselves. What is it that I'm feeding myself today? What is it? Sometimes people are having conversations, and I can say this for myself. Sometimes people are having conversations, and I really don't want to be a part of that conversation because of the spin that it has. And so what I do is I try to respin that in a different way. And if I cannot, because people are stuck in their story and in that energy, then I excuse myself and I move away, right? Because I no longer want to be a part of feeding that energy, because now I have to work on, working that energy out, right? It's because I don't want that energy to how would I say, to continue to co-create and to become larger in scale. So in our bodies will feel energetically, right? We're going to feel certain, look, this is how I look at it. We have had so much trauma. And I was thinking the other day, and I said, geesh, I think it was like 2016, or maybe it was even before that, but I think it was around there where we started to hear more of the stuff that, almost like getting a beat down, like you're like being in a relationship that is just not healthy for you, and you were just being beat down every day, every time, right? You turned around. And so what happened was that was engaging us, and that was creating the trauma that was in our body was really coming up to the surface, because I know that was something for me. There was a lot of stuff that came up for me, and I had to deal with it. I went inward and I worked it out, right? I'm not saying I'm all clear yet, because I'm still a work in progress, right? But what I'm saying is that this trauma, then we had COVID come in, because that other trauma wasn't large enough to shift us as a, let's say as a people, right? It didn't shift us enough. So now COVID came in. Right, to get us to sit down and to look inward and to work through our stuff. But yet still we still had that rift. We still had that, that inability, to wrestle this, And so what happens is that there goes more trauma, right? So we're building, now we have bigger fears, right? Because now these fears are feeding the fears that we already have living in us. right? And so now COVID is getting us to, either be reactive or proactive in whatever form, right? Or going inward and saying, I need to sit with this because, this energy is rising in me and it's telling me something and I need to pay attention. And so we got through, we're still in that phase, right? We still got this COVID going on, but then we have now, then we had different types of COVID strands and all that kind of stuff. But now look what's happening. It's almost like the other day I said, oh my Lord, why aren't we just listening? We just have to listen and go inside, go inward. And go inside and take a look at what is festering inside of us. What is it that needs to be allowed to be freed, to allow to, we can surrender it. We don't have to hold on to things simply because we've had it for such a long time, right? Sometimes it's okay to give it up. Sometimes it's okay to say, I give this up. And when I give this up, I'm not giving up on myself. I'm just releasing this and I'm just surrendering this so I can free myself, so I can be whole again, right? And the more we do that, the more we practice that, the beautiful, then we're able to, to get into the core things, right? So I think we're having a break, so.
Yeah, well, we do have to go to a break, Melissa, but it's a really good question. And the thing is, for you, I know you're talking about a specific thing that's come up. And for many people, we have something that shows up to get our attention, like a splinter beneath the skin. So we're going to address this when we get back. About your exact question, which is really powerful. So you guys stay with us and we'll be right back after this short break.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
So I'm a cat. And I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
I love that commercial, and I have to say, my sexy tuxie Mojo, who I'm so in love with, my kitty cat, he likes to bring me surprise gifts too, but they're not egg rolls. So, welcome back, everybody. Melissa from Postcards to the Universe is joining us. She has a show on OMTimes a few hours after us. What time is your show, Melissa?
My show is 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
4 p.m. Eastern Time. And can you repeat your question for people that may be tuning in late or would like a refresher?
Sure. So I asked before, because of everything, especially the last few years that's been going on, is it possible for our bodies to manifest ill at ease or dis-ease because of what's happening on the outside world? Because I feel my intuition is telling me that that is what occurred with me, that I took some stuff on that, some maybe original trauma came back up. I'm sure that did, that maybe some things that weren't healed. And I also feel I'm very I'm an empath, so I kind of take on, and I don't do enough protection to take on other people's energy. I'm super sensitive. Yeah. But I think it's both. I feel like it's both. Yeah.
Yes, I think they are directly work hand in hand with one another. Listen, Melissa, the biggest thing I think is, when we have to address something, I mean, you and I have both been through, well, all three of us have been through physical things that have happened to us that are getting our attention, right? And it's when your body is rising up and something isn't right, and we know, like, oh, this is a little signal, this is a sign, take notice. I think for many, many people, we're all on different levels of our awakening and our understanding. But many people have had to have a wake-up call in their body because they're just really numbed out. And I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say I grew a giant tumor that was my ovary. I took on so much as an empath energetically and didn't realize it. And so a lot of this time has been, it's called the awakening for a reason, because we are literally in our little pods and we're shaking, and those little pods are cracking, or call them eggs if you want. So we are being cracked open to a new reality and with new eyes. So, I also wanted to say, Melissa, the division that we have going on right now, there's an agenda that we were talking about right before you called. And, there's a reason I think there's a lot of news out there that's itching for a war, because it's good story. It's good drama. It's good trauma. And all of that is what Marilyn was talking about what we take on and what we allow in. And we have a whole show coming up this month about what are you actually allowing into your body. So I would say, yes, I don't want you to say like, oh, I have to protect myself more, because I feel like that's kind of scary. It means there's like a big monster rearing his head wants to get you. But it is true though. But it is true, though, that you want to beef up your gold bubble. You want to beef up your vibration and your aura. So those little, those Velcro gremlins, you can kick them to the curb, or they can bounce off like spiritual Teflon. And I think that's really important. I think Marilyn and I should do a show about spiritual tools that you can use every day that will help you, especially being an empath. So yeah, because I have a daily practice, and I know when I don't do it, I regret it real big time, real quick.
And it's also being aware. It's also being aware, right, of your feeling place, right? Because usually if we become aware of how we are feeling, right, in every given moment or any given moment, right, when we start to shift in how we are feeling, like if I'm feeling pretty good and then all of a sudden I'm not, then there's something just happened. And what was that thing that just happened? Because it took me to a different energy, and that energy didn't feel good. So what was that? So, and I've been practicing this for, I want to say over 3.5 years, right? Practicing this concept, because for me, it really pays off. And I think it will pay off for everybody, because it's something that we become more aware of the things that affect us in our daily lives. And then we can choose, right? Because we have that power. We always have the power to choose to either, talk about it, right? Like sometimes we have to say, to another person or to whoever, it is, that we have to say, I'm a little uncomfortable with this, with this conversation or with this process, or, whatever the feeling might be, right? We can always, it's important for us to recognize that we have the power of choice. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about, right? Sometimes you think, oh, I gotta sit here and I gotta just sit here through this whole thing. We don't have to do that. We can excuse ourselves, or we can say, this isn't appropriate at this time, or, we need to be very truthful about our feelings, because this is the other thing that I understand to be true, is that when we don't speak our truth, then we swallow it whole, and then it lives inside of us, and it kicks and screams, and it does an inner battle. There's an inner battle.
It's like a pearl, a little grain of sand in that oyster. It just builds a layer and builds a layer, and just like that tumor. Like anything. I do want to say one thing, if I can. It's really important. I mean, most people know this, of course, but I'm just going to put it out there. This isn't about blaming or judgment. I mean, this isn't about you got cancer because you didn't do something.
Never.
It's never that.
Right.
It's not what we're talking about. I just want to throw that out there for anybody that thinks that that's what we're saying. Because we all have certain agreements that we came in here with before we ever showed up as in our cute little flesh suits. I believe that.
Right.
But Melissa, I don't know how much you want to talk about what's going on with you or not, but anytime there's a presence in our body, that you've been on our show before, so it's there for a reason to get our attention, right? And the number one thing we got to go to is love, soothe, self-care. What do I need? What is it I need? What is my body telling me? It's not, a miracle, rainbows and unicorns miraculously going to disappear. It's a process like everything else. It took time for it to show up. Yeah. So,
and understanding where in the body it lands, right? Like, where in the body does it land? And being very much aware of where it is that we carry the stuff, right? That how would I say? Some people have difficulty digesting, and what does that have to do with? Well, they have had to deal with things and not had the opportunity or the ability to speak up and say their truth. And what happens is
I'm raising my hand on that one, man.
Okay. So let's move in that.
You hit it.
Okay. So we're going to move in that, because what happens is that when we believe, and I'm going to use the word believe because this is important. Okay. When we believe that we do not have, right, the platform to speak our truth, right? In our daily lives, right? When we believe that we are limited in with the ability to speak what it is that we need and what we want, and just how we are expecting certain things, to be, right? Then what happens is that we just swallow that stuff, right? And then because we're going, no, I can't say that right now, right? For fear of somebody misunderstanding, or for fear of whatever, it doesn't even matter. Those fears, right? Those fears, and I've learned, I just go like this. I have to say it. I'm going to say it with love and compassion, but I am going to say it because I do not want my body, right? I don't want to have to wrestle with this. I don't want to have to try to figure out where it landed and how I'm going to get this energy out of me, because now this energy has attached to self. I call these things cellular memory, right? And so what happens is that we have cellular memory all over, right? Because we are collectors. We are collectors. And, I go like this. Maybe at one time I might have been honoring that, but I no longer am going to do that. I'm going to honor the fact that I was able to do that, but then I'm going to also honor the ability to let it go. I'm going to honor the ability to release, and to surrender, and to be okay in that, and to speak my truth through it all. Because if I am unable, look, in the moment, there are those times, and I have to say it, there are those times when I can't say it in the moment, right? And if I can't say it in the moment, what I understand that what's going to happen is that this thing is going to go in me, and I'm going to carry this, and I'm going to say, you should have said, you would have, and then I go like this. We're no longer doing that. You know what I do? If I understand that I can't say anything in the moment, I will say, I will need to speak to you. I will need to speak to you about this at a later point, but right now I can't. but I want that time. And then I can excuse myself and do whatever it is that I need to do, because maybe, you know, maybe I got a little emotional, you know, about what somebody said to me or whatever it was, or it hit me in such a way that I received it in such a way. Or I can rephrase and I can say, did I hear you say X, Y, and Z? And then if they say, yes, exactly, right? Yes, exactly. Then I know that I have the ability to say, okay, so this is how I received that. Okay, and then talk it out. And then if I'm in a situation where I know that maybe it's too emotional for me, maybe it's supercharged and I really can't do it, right? Then what I need to do, or the other person isn't going to hear me in the way that I really want them to hear me, because they are in that supercharged place, then usually what I do is I say, well, I'm about to write a letter. That's what I do. I write a letter. I write letters. This is what I do. So I write a letter about how I was feeling, how I interpreted the experience, right? Because now there's no way for me to be derailed, right? Because sometimes people, you know, they'll derail you, and now you're off in another conversation that you didn't even want to start talking about.
Right.
So I do that when I know that it's something that I really right now I can't work with right now, because, you know, or that person can't work with it right now, because if I were to speak to them, they weren't going to be receiving it the way I really intend it, right? So there's different ways for us to be able to work through the inability to communicate and to release our feelings, right? Because we need to be able to open up that feeling place, because it's wide open right now, right? Like if you're feeling something that is like really disturbing or really, you know, just not feeling right for you, and you're not able to speak on it, what happens is that you just took it on, and then it lands, and it has a home, because there's a home there, you know? It's where every other place.
I had an aha, if I can share. So, yeah, because just listening to you girls. All right, so I definitely have had to swallow a lot of stuff without being able to speak up, right? And it's interesting. So I'm having two issues that are coinciding with each other. So you know, and I feel like throughout my life, and you know, there's been a couple of times where I felt like I got punched in the stomach, right? So then there's the stomach issue. What happens usually with me is I get upset, and then, you know, I'm sad or whatever, but then it turns into anger. Then I get angry. You know, I have a temper. I'm Sicilian, you know? And so now with the urinary stuff, you know, I realize pissed off. I'm pissed off, right?
Pissed.
And so pissed off, right? So it hit the stomach, then it went to the urinary, and they go back and forth.
Yes.
And, you know, and you storing, and then I had somebody, we're working with a healer, and he said, you have a lot of stored negativity and anger in your liver, which is, his liver holds anger, which is carrying over into all of this. So as I'm listening to you guys talk, I'm like, okay, so I have to look at it as I have just been given an opportunity.
Yes.
Right? This is an opportunity to go deeper and to work through this so that I can rise my vibration up even higher. Because I feel like this is blocking some things from coming.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, when you said opportunity, I said, I just wrote something about that. Where is that? Right? So it's about, you tell a story, so you can do this, right? You can tell a story that will take into account the wonderful opportunities that you have before you, right? And then now you rewrite a new story where your challenges are opportunities. And then you embrace the portal of change, right? Because then endings equal new beginnings, right? So when you said opportunities, right? I said, I just wrote something about the opportunities and the challenges. And, you know, it's about how you're going to tell your story, right? You've received.
Also, I have to say, I have to interject here, ladies, because, you know, I won't get a word in if I don't. So listen, it's important, you know, Melissa, seriously, you need to get in touch with that little kid, that little Melissa.
Yeah.
Little Melissa with the scuffed up knees and the tomboy shorts and whatever, and you need to listen to her because she's angry and she's got some things to say, and more importantly, she needs it to be witnessed. That's what she wants, because when it's witnessed, then you can see that breakthrough, what you're letting go, and literally pissed off, you're releasing it through your body. When you urinate, you're releasing. So there's some anger there that needs to come out, and I think she just wants to be witnessed. And I've done this work, and I continue to do this work with little Beth. You know? So I just wanted to get that in there, because
that's very important.
That's a big step for you. Our topic today was about fear. And I think you might have a little fear about, you know, I know how tenacious you are, Melissa, so I can only imagine how much that little Melissa has got to get out. But you're going to be okay, because you're going to be a fierce mama to her. So that fear may be holding you back from hearing her, because you may be afraid you don't know how to handle it, or be able to, you know, transform it. But I know you can, and I know you've got two really great advocates here that want to hold that space for you too.
Yeah, and take a look at what, you know, your disappointments. You know, look at what disappointed you, right? And you know, because disappointments are unmet expectations, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's sometimes we carry that, and then, you know, we're really angry about not having it met.
Collecting, Marilyn, that is such a powerful word. Collecting.
Yeah, and we don't even realize that that's what we've been doing all our lives, right? All our lives we've been doing that, and we don't know it. And, you know, when you start to purge, and this is what I'm saying, you'll be purging soon, right, Melissa? You're going to purge some stuff, right? Because the truth is that when we start to purge, right, that's when we start to really witness, right, the shifts and the changes that are taking place within us, right? So part of the, I'm gonna do a little work here, because this is, you know, this is what I do. Okay, but I'm gonna keep talking, because this is radio and we can't just like we can't just like not do this, okay? But right, because sometimes what happens is that energy just gets stuck, you know, and sometimes this is what happens, right? I'm like really working on your throat right now, because part of it is uplifting yourself and to say to yourself that you have the ability, right, to speak your truth, in all times, right? In all spaces, in all dimensions, you have the right to speak your truth, right? To be heard, to be seen. And it's okay, and you are safe, right? And you have the right to feel your feelings, right? And to allow them to come on out, right? Because the more, this is what happens. I can feel this, right? So what happens is that Melissa says, well, I can't be that angry right now, because this is inappropriate for me in this, you know, in this space right now. I can't do this right now. But what happens is that as you hold it in, and I'm not saying, look, we can be angry, and we can be angry in a way where we're not going to be destructive, you know, and you're not that anyway. You know, you can choose your words.
I think,
you know,
Melissa could smash a few plates.
The little one, the little one. But you're gonna create safe space for her, right? You're going to create, and it's interesting that you use the word protection, right? You use, do I need to protect myself? So, and when Elizabeth said, it's the little girl in you, right? She's the one that wants to be, you know, that feels like she needs that protection. She's the one that says, well, you know, I'm not allowed to feel like this. I'm not allowed, and I'm not allowed. And so what happens is that, okay, so, oh man, you know, your stomach starts to, you know, feel tighter and tighter, right? Because it feels like you're holding on to stuff, right? So what we want to do is we want to say, oh, sure, we're going to make some time, right? We're going to make some time right now, right, to sit.
Make some time right now. Marilyn's going to she's going to zoom out of her chair.
I wish I had her.
We got to go to a break, but we're going to keep working on Melissa while we go to break.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're going to be right back, so you guys stay with us, okay? Melissa?
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Coping 19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
With everything going on, there may be times you feel like you can't handle it all. Journaling, meditating, and talking with friends and family can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope. Your kids are also going through a lot of new experiences, and simply talking with them about their feelings can be quite powerful.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
We do it, right? So
Wow. Welcome
this is, yes, welcome back, everybody. I got into this.
Marilyn is so passionate. Oh my God.
Little Melissa, I know the dynamics here, and there's been a lot of time where Melissa had to be the strong one, be the adult one, be the one that didn't make waves to make room for other people in her family that needed more attention. And so that's a lot of it, shoving it down, being, I can't be inappropriate. So Marilyn is just like, wow, I can feel the energy just going all everywhere. So Melissa, how do you feel right now as Marilyn's working on you? Can you feel something happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can feel like goosebumps. I feel like the little hairs on like my shoulders and the back of my arms are standing up. Like I can feel almost her blowing on me. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, she's blowing and blowing. I can see it.
I know.
We can see each other. And she's flapping her wings and all her jewelry's going, and she's got all this energy moving for you. She's shaking shift up. Big time.
Yeah,
I
right,
feel
because
it on the back of my neck and on the wow, that's wild.
Right? Because it's important, right? To be able to, now what you want to do is you want to give her time. Now, I want you to set that time up. I don't want you to say, oh, I don't have the time right now. I want you to make a date. I want you to make a date. I want you to sit and I want you to allow that energy to move out of you. So like I said before, if you need to put yourself on the floor, you just, someplace safe, soft, right? And you can pound and pound and pound. If you need to have a temper tantrum, you can scream out loud if you need to, cry out as much as you need to, yell, and if you need to curse it out. Say whatever it is that you need to do, right? Because what you want to do is, that's a lot of energy that's being held. And so if you allow her the freedom to do it and then to be safe through it, you understand? To be safe through it. She has to feel safe through it. So allow that. Yeah, allow that opening. So now I got chills moving down my feet, so I know that this is beautiful. Okay, so this is part of, right? This is part of what you're being asked to do. So when you're able to do that, you're going to see that there's going to be a shift that's going to take place, right? And I'm not going to say that you're going to be 100% all of a sudden, right? Because please understand, that's not how it works, right? But it's about being able to move that energy that is working against you. it's like it's living in you and it's working against you. And so, we don't want to have that energy inside of us. So we want to have that beautiful, beautiful little girl to be able to say, I'm safe, I'm protected, and I have the ability. Yes, Yes, I can be seen, I can be heard, and I can speak my truth. Oh my God, do you understand the freedom that's going to be for her to be able to say it's okay, right?
I have to tell you, a couple of years back, I made a postcard for Postcards to the Universe, and it was my Forest of Love. And Melissa's very familiar with my imagery, and there was Big Beth, and there was little Beth sitting on her lap facing her, remember, with the little fluffy wings? Because she was sitting there being nurtured and heard and accepted after all that barbed wire, anger, ugliness came out. We sat eyeball to eyeball and bonded, and she felt safe. And that's what that postcard was about that I sent you. Right? So that visual with the trees with all the hearts and the love. So you're getting to that soft place. But first you've got to get through all that stuff that she used to protect herself.
Yes.
That's why you use that protection word, Melissa.
Yeah. And then think about this year. Think about that this year is what? Is the year of rediscovering the self. So just think about just everything that's happening right now is happening because it needs to, because the shifting that's taking place, it's not that it's going to, that it's taking place right now. It's just taking place through all of us. Some of us can feel it more than others, and that's okay. We are where we are in this, in this space, right? But it is rediscovering the self. And what does that mean? What that means is all the parts of us, all the scattered parts of us, all the parts that weren't heard, or all the parts of us that weren't seen, or all the parts of us, right, that didn't have that we gave away, and we just said, oh no, or that we said, no, sit in that corner and don't say a word, whatever it is that we said, right? So it's calling them all back and integrating those parts, because how can we be whole without all our parts? We need to integrate them. We need to be able to honor them, and we need to be able to thank them for the work that they have done, because they've gotten us this far, and this is good. This is really good, right? So this is something that we can acknowledge, and we can do every day. We can do a little bit more and a little bit more, right? Every day we can do that, right? Every day we can call another part of us, in and say, what part, am I working on today,
And I would suggest that there will be many conversations. This isn't just a one-time go in, introduce yourself. This is, as Marilyn always says, my favorite word that I stole from her, unraveling the ball of yarn, or getting to the deeper layers of the pearl, right? Because we're collecting. So we've got layers upon layers of things to kind of examine and look at, and things, the spiritual breadcrumbs. You'll get to the point where you're going to want to go and say, I need my little me time with my little mini Melissa. That's a mouthful. Say it 3 times fast. But you get in there and you get to the really wounded, soft, sweet part that wants to be seen, because now that protection is no longer necessary, because you've created the acknowledgement of that little being always being there, that you've neglected and shut up and put 2x4s over and all the other stuff that we've done to ourselves.
And chances are you did it without even knowing that you were doing it. See, and this is the other thing. We were doing these things, but it was more about surviving and being safe, and feeling safe in our environment. And so we did what we needed to do. And so there's no shame in this. There's no harm in this. There's no guilt in this. There's none of that. There's only love here. There's only love, right? There's only love.
Because you do it, you do thrive. You do become empowered. You do have all those parts integrated back in yourself. So we go from surviving to thriving. It's a process. It's a process. Yeah.
So what do you recommend? That you sit with yourself, like in your mind's eye, you picture your little self. You go into like, where you're having a conversation. Is that how you recommend doing that?
Let me ask you. I'm going to ask you a question because sometimes I do it this way. Sometimes what I do is I look at what's the age that I'm talking about. What age was I? Around what age was I? Oh, do I have a picture of myself at that age? Because if I do, it's even sweeter, right? Because now I can put this little... I do it differently, okay? But everybody's got to do it their way. But I take that picture and I have an altar and I put it up on my altar where I can see it, all the time, where I can look at her and I can honor her and I can honor her in her place. And I can say to her, you have a seat at this table. You have a seat at this table, young lady, and you're going to be heard and you're going to be seen, right? And I am going to experience you fully, okay? And then, and every day working on this, this whatever age it is, right? And it's a beautiful thing because you have that visual. Yes. Yes. And then you can change the picture. Yes.
Exactly. And also like, for me, it's like, I had these favorite red corduroys that had holes all in them. I had a favorite doll. There's certain things that will come into you.
Yes.
But be prepared because she may jump from 2 to 8 and then to 6. And then that's very common too. I would just say be open and have a dialogue, and you're going to think you're making it up, but what she has to tell you is her speaking.
And it's the wisdom.
Have a conversation, yes.
Yeah, it's the wisdom, right, that sits with her because she has wisdom, right? Yeah. But she has wisdom that she was not able to speak on, right? So this is part of you allowing her to speak her wisdom because her wisdom, of course, is your wisdom, right? But she's never been able to express it because she got stifled. She got shut down.
Yeah. For me, I have to say, Melissa, the amount of self-compassion that came out of that for me was mind-blowing. Like, I had no idea how much compassion I could have felt for that little being and how much shit she took on. And I could see it with new eyes and go, wow, what a tough, brave little cookie she was. She protected me. She's the one who, so it is a relationship you're building, right? So, Melissa, my goodness, we're so grateful you called in.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel like I took up your whole show.
No. This is really what we aim. This is really what we aim to be doing, right? We did speak on fear, did we not? Of course we did. Yeah. And then we were able to work through a lot. And so this is spirit, right? Doing beautifully, right? And so, I'm so thankful for you to come on and to, to ask and to be present for, because it's important. It's important for us to be able to say, what do I need today? Oh yeah, you know what? I can call in and I can ask this question and maybe I'll get an answer. Maybe I won't, but at least I'm gonna try. Let's see, right? And this is what it's about, right? To be able to be daring enough to say, I'm doing this. Why? Because I choose me. Because I choose me.
That's right.
Right?
And that's what it all is.
And it was so spontaneous. I wasn't planning on it. And it literally happened like 2 minutes before you guys went on the air.
Yes. we were texting and I said, call in. Because you know what? You might have chickened out of it or your subconscious might have said, here's the thing. I think the number one thing we can manifest, we can want beautiful things. We can want to heal. We can want to do all of these things. And people say, how do I get there? And how do I do that? The number one thing is nobody's going to do it for you but you.
You got to step in.
Help. You can get help. You can get support. But you, number one, every day got to show up as your own best advocate.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And
ask for what you need.
That's right.
Ask for what you need. Just ask for it. And be willing to say, yes, I'm taking this leap. Because you know why? Because I am worthy and I matter. Right? And I'm important. Yeah.
Be careful who you ask, too. Make sure you're asking the right support system. That's really key here. Because if you go to Debbie Downer Grandma, you're not going to get the help you need, right?
No. And I notice with me, because I'm a Gemini, I can intellectualize everything.
Yes.
But it takes me work to tap into feeling it.
Yep.
That doesn't come naturally to me. Like, I can understand it on an intellectual level, but I think that's why things haven't been healing, because I'm not at the place of feeling it.
Yes, it's all about feeling. It's all about your heart space.
Were you able to feel?
Yes.
And were you able to feel? Were you able to feel connected through this call?
Yeah.
Were you able to move to shift past that, the intellectual part to the heart, to the heart place?
Especially when you were working on me now. I felt it. Yeah. For sure.
So remember that. That's where you want to get, into that gooey place where you felt that heart feeling. That's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And don't be afraid to come on the show. You know, sometimes I had callers that said, "Oh, I already called and I don't want to take up too much." Listen, I spent my whole life trying not to take up too much space, and I'm going to tell people, you need to take as much space as you need. Just take your space, take your seat at the table, and ask for what you want. Because you're not going to get what you want if you don't ask for it, and if you don't take a seat at the table,
you'll want a steak. You're not going to get a steak.
Right? You might get waffles.
But I like that affirmation.
All right.
Blessings, love, and light, guys.
Thank you.